My beloved child, perhaps the room is quiet, but your mind is not. Your hand reaches for the phone again. You reread the message, replay the conversation, examine the smallest change in someone's tone, and search yesterday's circumstances for a meaning they may not contain. Is this the sign? Is this the moment something finally begins to move? Hope rises for an instant, then falls when nothing becomes clear, and soon you are checking again. I know how weary this uncertainty can make you. It follows you into the morning and lies beside you at night. It interrupts your peace, scatters your attention, and teaches you to conceal disappointment behind ordinary words. Others may not see how lonely the waiting has become, or how deeply you fear that silence means you have been forgotten. My beloved child, your distress is not proof that you have no faith. Weariness is not disqualification. Yet, searching harder is not the same as waiting faithfully. Constant checking may promise certainty, but it often leaves you more confused, because every detail becomes a verdict, and every quiet hour feels like evidence against hope. Scripture offers another way to inhabit delay. Biblical waiting is not passive resignation, and it is not frantic control dressed in spiritual language. It is courageous, attentive, and rooted in the character of God when circumstances refuse to explain themselves. It does not require you to deny your desire or silence your questions. It invites you to bring them into the presence of the one whom Scripture reveals as faithful, sustaining, and near to the brokenhearted. So the question before you is not merely, when will the answer come? It is this: how can you wait faithfully when the answer feels late and your peace is disappearing? We will walk slowly through Psalm 27 and the courage to remain, through Isaiah 40 and the strength that can be renewed before the road changes. We will practice surrender without pretending not to care, cultivate peace through ordinary days, obey what is already clear, and test guidance without chasing every coincidence. We will not predict a deadline or invent a hidden explanation. We will learn to pray with open hands. For the first change you need may not yet be around you. It may be a new way of living within the wait. And that begins by noticing what the delay itself has made you believe about God and about yourself. My beloved child, when an answer remains out of reach, fear rarely stays silent. It begins to speak in sentences that sound certain. You missed your moment. Your faith is too weak. Everyone else is moving while you remain behind. God has forgotten you. And if you listen long enough, disappointment can begin to feel like a judgment upon your worth. But pause here. The request is unanswered. That is what you know. The door has not opened. That is what you can observe. The outcome is still uncertain. That is the circumstance before you. But abandonment, punishment, and personal failure are interpretations, and fear does not become truth simply because it repeats itself. My beloved child, you are allowed to grieve what has not happened. Faithful people become tired. Faithful people feel confused. Faithful people carry questions they cannot resolve, and sorrow they cannot neatly explain. Trust and disappointment can live within the same heart. Tears do not cancel devotion, and exhaustion does not erase love. You do not need to disguise your pain before you bring it into prayer. Do not force this season into an explanation Scripture has not given you. Not every delay can be declared directly sent by God. Not every closed door can be named protection. And no one should promise that a particular breakthrough is near when that has not been revealed. Reassurance does not require invention. Hope does not need a manufactured deadline. Whatever has contributed to this waiting, it does not possess the authority to define you or declare God absent. This season can still become a place where you meet God honestly, where desire is clarified, where endurance is formed, and where prayer becomes less polished but more true. What fear calls proof of rejection may simply be uncertainty, asking for a verdict it cannot provide. So, return gently to what is knowable. Return to the character of God revealed in Scripture. Return to the invitation to seek, to pray, to trust, and to obey what is clear today. You may not know why the answer has not come, but you can refuse to let the silence speak beyond its evidence. You can bring your disappointment into God's presence without first solving it as a judgment against yourself. And when those false verdicts begin to lose their authority, another voice becomes easier to hear, the voice of the psalmist, speaking not to an untroubled heart, but to one under pressure. Wait for the Lord. Be strong, and let your heart take courage. Psalm 27 does not speak over your struggle with a detached sentence. It moves through fear and opposition, through longing and prayer, through the possibility of being forsaken and toward a confidence that has been tested beneath pressure. David's closing words are not spoken because every threat has disappeared. They rise from a heart that has learned where to turn while trouble remains. At the center of the psalm is not a prediction but a desire to seek the presence of God. Before David asks when his circumstances will change, he reaches toward the one whose face he longs to know. This is where faithful waiting begins, not with decoding tomorrow, but with relationship today, not with possessing an outcome, but with returning your attention to God when fear would scatter it in every direction. My beloved child, you do not fail at waiting when fear enters your prayer. You are learning to wait when you bring that fear into the presence of God instead of letting it drive you away. David does not hide his distress in order to sound courageous. He speaks from within it, seeks God within it, and allows remembered goodness to become stronger than the conclusions fear is urging him to make. He declares confidence that he will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. This is steadfast hope, but it is not a schedule. The psalm gives you no permission to attach a date God has not revealed. It gives you something deeper, permission to keep looking for God's goodness here within your living days, without demanding that hope explain exactly when or how the answer must arrive. Imagine standing outside before sunrise. The horizon has not yet brightened, and nothing visible confirms that morning is near. Yet courage can remain there in the dimness, facing the direction from which light will come. Courage is not the light itself, nor is it a claim that darkness has already ended. It is the heart refusing to abandon its faithful orientation. This is why the psalm joins its final commands together. Wait for the Lord. Be strong. Let your heart take courage. Waiting is not timid resignation. Strength here is not emotional numbness. Heart courage is the practiced decision to remain turned toward God while fear is still unresolved. My beloved child, you are not merely inactive because the answer has not arrived. Each time you seek God's presence, speak honestly, and refuse to let fear choose your direction, you are practicing the courage of Psalm 27. And now that courage must enter the ordinary day into what receives your attention, what shapes your desire, and what you choose to do while you wait. My beloved child, courageous attention can be lost in two opposite ways. You may decide that because the answer has not come, your life must remain paused, as though nothing meaningful can begin until uncertainty ends. Or you may rush toward every possible action, trying to create movement through effort, pressure, and constant intervention. One response withdraws from the present, the other attempts to master the future. Both are born from the same fear that waiting leaves you powerless. But you do not need control of the outcome in order to participate faithfully in this day. Active waiting has a quieter strength. It remains present to God rather than disappearing into imagined futures. It tells the truth about desire rather than pretending not to care. It notices what is being clarified and formed within you, and it responds to the responsibilities already entrusted to you, even when those responsibilities seem ordinary beside the answer you want. What feels like suspension can become preparation, not because every unwanted circumstance was arranged to produce some secret result, but because no unresolved season prevents you from practicing truth, wisdom, love, and obedience now. The delay does not have to explain itself before today can become meaningful. So let your attention ask better questions. What is true today, apart from what fear predicts? What is mine to do, apart from what I wish I could control? What desire needs to be held with greater surrender? What wisdom is emerging as I listen, pray, and remain honest? These questions do not give you possession of tomorrow. They return you to the place where faithfulness is possible. Stillness, then, is not numbness. It is not sitting motionless while responsibility is neglected. Stillness is alert, availability, a heart quiet enough to listen and awake enough to respond. You can be inwardly surrendered and outwardly faithful. You can refrain from forcing what is beyond you while tending carefully to what is within your reach. A gardener cannot command a hidden seed to rise. Yet the gardener does not call the unseen season empty. The soil is watered, weeds are cleared, changes in moisture and weather are noticed. The ground is watched with patience, and the work continues without pretending that effort can manufacture life. In the same way, you can care for your character, your relationships, your commitments, and your communion with God while leaving the timing of the outcome beyond your grasp. This is attention instead of suspension, neither paralysis nor control, but faithful participation in today's invitation. Yet, even this quiet faithfulness requires strength, and there are days when you feel you have almost none left. It is there that Isaiah speaks of renewal before the road itself has changed. My beloved child, Isaiah 40 meets you where faithful participation has become tiring. The passage gives voice to those who feel that their way is hidden from God and their cause has been overlooked. Perhaps that complaint has entered your own prayer. Do you see how long this has been? Do you see how little strength remains? Scripture does not shame the question. It answers by lifting your attention toward the everlasting Creator, whose understanding cannot be exhausted and whose strength does not weaken with the length of your delay. You may feel depleted, but God is not depleted by sustaining you. You may not understand the road, but your confusion does not exceed His understanding. Isaiah does not say that faithful people never faint. He speaks directly to those who are weary and declares that God gives power to the faint and increases the strength of those who have none. To wait or hope in the Lord, then, is not to discover a spiritual technique that persuades God to act sooner. It is relational reliance. It is bringing your limited strength into dependence upon strength that is not limited. It is saying, I cannot carry this day by force, but I can receive what is needed to remain faithful within it. Then Isaiah gives us a movement of renewal, rising on wings like eagles, running without being overcome, and walking without fainting. We often notice the soaring because it feels dramatic, yet walking is also named within the promise. Sometimes renewal arrives as lifted joy, sometimes as unusual endurance, and sometimes as enough grace to take the next ordinary step without abandoning what is true. Do you see, my child? Strength is not always loud. It may look like getting out of bed and praying honestly. It may appear as patience in one conversation, wisdom in one decision, or the courage to complete one responsibility while grief remains beside you. Quiet endurance is not inferior renewal. The capacity to continue faithfully is itself a gift. This does not promise endless energy, freedom from sorrow, or evidence that the answer is near. It means weariness has not carried you beyond God's sustaining care. Like a river whose upper waters are troubled by wind, while the deeper current continues, peace may still move within you, even when your emotions are unsettled, because its source reaches beneath the weather of the moment. Receive strength in the form it comes. Let walking be holy when you cannot soar, and as strength returns for today, loosen the deadline that keeps draining tomorrow into every present hour. Keep the desire, but begin releasing the timetable. My beloved child, beneath anxious waiting there is often a bargain you did not realize you were making. I will permit myself to rest when this changes. I will breathe freely when the answer arrives, when the wound heals, when the door opens, when the confusion finally becomes clear. Until then, you remain inwardly braced, as though peace must be withheld to prove how deeply you care. But peace is not a reward reserved for the day your preferred future appears. You do not have to stop caring in order to stop letting the deadline govern your inner life. There is a difference between desire and demand. Desire says, "This matters to me, and I bring it honestly before God." Demand says, "This must happen in this way, within this time, or I cannot be safe." One makes room for prayer, the other binds peace to an outcome you cannot control. Surrender does not mean becoming indifferent. It does not require you to deny your longing, neglect responsible action, or pretend that disappointment would not hurt. Surrender is trustful openness. It releases the claim that only one imagined future can hold goodness, while remaining willing to love, listen, pray, and act faithfully today. Pause here, my beloved child. Let your shoulders loosen from the burden they have been carrying. Breathe slowly. Turn your hands upward and allow your fingers to open. Now name the unresolved request without polishing it. Speak plainly before God. This is what I desire. This is what I fear. This is what I cannot control. Show me what faithfulness requires today. You may need to remain there for a moment. The desire may still ache. The fear may still speak. Open hands are not evidence that longing has disappeared. They are a confession that longing no longer has to become control. A clenched hand cannot easily receive guidance because it is gripping one version of tomorrow too tightly. When the hand opens, it does not discard what mattered. It entrusts what mattered. It becomes available to receive wisdom that may confirm a step redirect an impulse, establish a boundary, or simply teach the heart to remain present without forcing an answer. So keep bringing the request. Keep telling the truth about what its delay costs you, but release the inner bargain that says life and peace may begin only when the answer comes. Entrust the timing you cannot govern, and receive again the day that is actually before you. And when anxiety returns tomorrow, do not call this surrender a failure. Open your hands again. Peace is often restored through repeated return, through gentle rhythms that bring the wandering heart back to God morning, midday, and evening. My beloved child, let repeated return become the gentle shape of your day. Peace is not escape from uncertainty, nor is it a promise that every feeling will remain calm. It is an inner orientation toward God, restored whenever anxiety pulls your attention away. You may tremble and still return. You may grieve and still be held. Peace does not require an uninterrupted emotional state. It grows through the practice of coming back. In the morning, before you search for news or measure whether anything has changed, pause, breathe slowly, and read a few lines from Psalm 27 or Isaiah 40. Do not rush to extract a prediction. Receive one truth: God is present. Fear does not determine your direction. Strength can be given for the day before you. Name the truth that will govern your attention and carry it quietly into the hours ahead. At midday, notice what the waiting has done within your body. Is your jaw tight? Has your breathing become shallow? Are your thoughts racing beyond what you actually know? Pause and separate fact from imagined conclusion. Say plainly, "This is what has happened, and this is what fear is adding." Then ask, what responsibility belongs to this present hour? Not the whole future. Not every possible outcome. This hour. Keep a small record of gratitude as well. Write 3 concrete gifts you received or noticed: a nourishing meal, a needed conversation, a moment of beauty, enough strength to complete necessary work. Gratitude is not a command to deny disappointment. Joy and grief may occupy the same day without canceling each other. Giving thanks simply prevents the unanswered question from becoming the only reality you can see. And when evening comes, review the day without putting yourself on trial. Notice where fear drove your choices, where attention scattered, and where grace helped you return. Receive mercy without self-accusation. Place the unfinished questions before God once more, admitting that they will not be solved by carrying them through the night. Then choose rest as an act of trust, even if sleep comes slowly. You may need a brief phrase for these returns. God is present. Strength is available. Today's step is enough. These words are not a formula for controlling what happens next. They are a reminder of where your heart can turn when uncertainty becomes loud. Morning, midday, evening, return again. Little by little, the unanswered question no longer governs the whole inner life, and from that steadier place, you can begin to see what is already yours to do. My beloved child, the question now becomes practical. What is already clear enough to obey? The larger answer may remain hidden, but your life has not ceased to contain responsibility. Your relationships still ask for love. Your work still asks for integrity. Your body still needs care. There are commitments to honor, people to serve, prayers to offer, and limits to respect. Waiting for one answer does not require abandoning everything else that has already been entrusted to you. Look gently across the day before you. Is there a conversation you need to approach honestly? A promise you need to keep? An apology you have delayed because uncertainty has consumed your attention? Perhaps wisdom requires seeking counsel, completing necessary work, tending to your health, or receiving rest without guilt. Do not search first for something dramatic. Begin with what is known. Present obedience is the active work of waiting. Yet, obedience must not become another way of controlling the outcome. You do not speak truth because it guarantees the response you desire. You do not apologize as a strategy for reopening a door. You do not serve in order to purchase an answer from God. A faithful action has value because it is faithful, even when its result remains beyond your reach. So take one proportionate step. Make the appointment, prepare the honest words, complete the task before you, ask a trusted person for counsel, care for the part of your life that anxiety has tempted you to neglect. Let the step match the clarity you have received. Panic reaches for a sweeping gesture because it cannot bear uncertainty. Wisdom is willing to move modestly. And sometimes, my beloved child, the next act of obedience is restraint. It may mean waiting before sending another message, refusing to arrange circumstances so that someone must respond, or declining a decision made only to escape discomfort. Restraint is not passivity when it protects truth, dignity, and peace. A quiet refusal to manipulate can be as faithful as visible action. Think of a lamp carried along an unlit path. Its glow does not reveal the destination or every turn ahead. It shows enough ground for the next careful movement. The darkness beyond that circle does not make the visible ground unimportant. Use what has been illuminated. Place your foot there, then remain attentive. You do not need the whole future in order to live this day with purpose. But because anxiety can call every impulse new light, the next question must be asked patiently. How will you test what seems like guidance without returning to the exhausting search for signs? My beloved child, return for a moment to where this journey began, watching for movement, weighing small details, wondering whether an ordinary event carries a decisive message. Anxiety can make neutral moments feel charged with meaning. A coincidence becomes confirmation. A delay becomes prohibition. A repeated thought begins to sound like instruction. The desire for certainty is understandable, but urgency can imitate clarity. An impression may arrive with intensity. A thought may return several times. A choice may bring relief, or a sudden calm may settle over you. These experiences may deserve attention, but none is infallible proof of divine direction. Strong feelings can arise from hope, fear, preference, fatigue, or the longing to escape uncertainty. Repetition may reveal what occupies your mind without revealing what God requires. So test what you perceive. As written in Scripture, test everything and hold fast to what is good. Begin with Scripture itself. Does this direction agree with the truth and character already revealed there? Then examine its fruit. Does it lead you toward truth, love, humility, patience, courage, and responsible action? Or does it cultivate secrecy, compulsion, pride, harm, and haste? Bring the impression to mature, trustworthy counsel, especially when the consequences affect other people. Consider the responsibilities already entrusted to you and the circumstances that must be faced honestly. Guidance does not require you to deny facts, violate wisdom, or abandon clear obligations. And where no immediate decision is required, allow time. What is sound can endure prayerful examination. It does not need panic to protect it. Peace may accompany a wise direction, but peace must not stand alone as the final test. Avoidance can feel peaceful for a moment because it removes pressure. Giving in to compulsion can feel relieving because the inner argument briefly stops. My beloved child, temporary ease is not always faithful peace. Let calm be considered alongside Scripture, character, counsel, responsibility, and time. Write down what you sense. Name the impression, the reasons for it, the fears surrounding it, and the fruit it appears to produce. Then hold it with open hands. You may say, "This seems possible," without declaring, "God has unquestionably said." Such humility is not unbelief. It is reverence that refuses to place God's authority upon a conclusion still being tested. You can remain receptive without becoming captive to every feeling or coincidence. Discernment grows sober and steady when certainty is not manufactured. And as you stop demanding a message from each passing moment, you may begin to notice something quieter, not merely what this season is telling you to do, but who you are becoming within it. My beloved child, look beyond isolated impressions and consider the slower evidence of formation. Beneath ground that appears unchanged, roots may be extending into places the eye cannot reach. Unseen does not mean unreal. Yet this image is not proof that every delay conceals a specific plan or promised outcome. It simply reminds you that visible circumstances are not the only measure of what is happening within a life. Notice what can be named honestly. Perhaps your prayers have become less polished and more truthful. Perhaps you recognize a boundary you once ignored, pause before acting on fear, or seek wisdom sooner than you did before. Perhaps suffering has made you more compassionate toward another person's uncertainty. Perhaps you are learning that love can remain tender without becoming controlling, and that patience can remain active without becoming frantic. These changes do not erase the ache, but they matter. Progress is not only receiving the answer sooner. Progress may also be becoming more able to carry truth without distortion, responsibility without resentment, uncertainty without surrendering your peace, and love without demanding control. It is a steadier character that can respond wisely whether the day brings movement, continued silence, or an outcome you did not choose. Some seasons remain painful, even after careful reflection. Some losses cannot be made good merely by assigning them a spiritual lesson. You do not honor God by pretending confusion is clarity or by calling every wound desirable. Meaning is not manufactured through denial. It is discovered as you practice faithfulness within what remains unresolved and refuse to let pain become the sole author of who you are. Now the movements of this journey begin to belong together. Psalm 27 teaches your heart to remain courageous in God's presence. Isaiah 40 teaches you to receive strength for the unchanged road. Surrender releases the timetable without denying desire. Daily rhythms restore attention. Present obedience gives purpose to the next step. Patient discernment protects you from haste and false certainty. Together, these form one posture: honest, receptive, responsible, and reliant upon God. This is how the wait can become meaningful without requiring a complete explanation. The horizon may still be dim, the surface unsettled, and the distance beyond today concealed. Yet courage can deepen, strength can return, and wisdom can guide the ground before you. Leave the outcome and its timing in God's hands. What remains now is to answer this formation with gratitude, surrender, and one faithful step at the edge of tomorrow. My beloved child, the answer may still be absent. The circumstances you examine so closely may look much as they did before, yet you do not have to return to the same captivity of checking, interpreting, and checking again. Questions can remain while courage grows. Strength can arrive as the grace to keep walking. Peace can be practiced before resolution. Place a hand over your heart, or open both hands before you. Let your breathing slow. Bring the desire to God without disguising its importance, and without turning it into a demand. You are not being asked to forget what you hoped for. You are being invited to release what you were never meant to control. Loving Father, I come to you with what remains unfinished. You know the answer I have wanted, the weariness I have carried, and the fear that has tried to interpret every silence. Be present to me here. Teach my heart the courage of Psalm 27. Not courage without questions, but courage that remains turned toward you while questions persist. Renew my strength according to your care. When I cannot rise above this season, give me grace to walk through today without fainting in spirit. Release me from the timetable I have tried to govern. Protect me from frantic action, forced certainty, and every attempt to make another person, circumstance, or sign carry the weight of my peace. Give me discernment that is patient, humble, and willing to be tested. Help me receive counsel, honor responsibility, and obey what is already clear. Let me recognize the difference between faithful movement and anxious control. Grant me enough light for today's work, enough courage for today's truth, and enough rest for tonight. Now, in the quiet, name one step that belongs to you. Let it be simple and honest. Then name one burden you will stop trying to manage. Place both before God, the responsibility you will accept and the control you will release. As written in Psalm 27, wait for the Lord, be strong, and let your heart take courage. This is not a forecast that visible change is near. It is a promise that you may remain rooted in God's goodness now. You can enter tomorrow without possessing its answer. You do not have to carry tomorrow's control. Take the faithful step. Leave the outcome with God. Keep your hands open, your breathing quiet, and your heart at rest.